Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
Dog, you tripped me out with it. They said you chill right there for a second.
Yeah, man.
Chill right there for a second. But look, welcome to the Black Man Think podcast. I'm your host, last name Good. I got the homie C Wisby Mac and T Mac in the building here tonight. And welcome. It's a new year, 2023. So I guess I can formally say to everybody, Happy New Year. I think we've already like in our group chat told everybody Happy New Year. We've seen some of our each other too. So Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy New Year, brothers.
Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start there, man. New year, new me. Is it New Year, new me, or is it New Year, same me? Like, are there any New Year resolution? Is it resolutions?
Yeah, resolution.
Yeah,
Resolution. Yeah, that y'all put in place yet?
Nah, I ain't doing no New Year resolution.
Me neither, man. I've never really been big on resolution. I'm like, I can start 22, 2019, whatever year is, starting in, because the next year ain't promised, so you might as well go ahead and get to it just right, at that point.
No, I'm with you on that. Now, I saw something on IG. It was, you know how people have like all of these posts and stuff, and it was a guy that said that we should not try to start new habits in the new year because winter is like a hibernating time for like people. And so that's why a lot of people fail at trying to lose weight at the beginning of the year or build new habits because it is a hibernation time period. So your brain and your body is not really focusing on trying to do anything new. It's almost like you should focus on shredding things. So like getting rid of some stuff, more so clearing your mind as opposed to trying to add on a new task or everything. I thought it was interesting, even though it was kind of like, on that, it's like that in between of, is it truth or, you know what I mean? Like it's so hard to decipher what's on social media nowadays, but I found that pretty interesting. I was like, man, baby, that's why it's hard to like get going in January, and then you usually start, getting right around March or April or whatever when you're trying to accomplish some of these things. So,
I think that's probably closer to an innate behavior type thing because when talk about cold. Cold means just you want to be inside, you don't want to be out, which is the hibernation piece. That's probably what he was referring to. So intuitively, it makes sense to me, and it has probably some perspective on it because I'm quite sure back, in times where we didn't have cars and things of that nature, in the cold seasons, they would be more don't go out as much and probably stay. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean it caught my attention when I saw it. I was just like, I've never looked at it that way. I've always, and it's a mindset thing, number one. But we're just so used to new year, new me, and all of these things, and it's just like, you know what? I feel like what Corey said earlier, like, dog, if you ain't doing it in 2022, then go ahead and get started now, man. So
that same gym that was there in December is that same gym that was there in January.
Yep.
It might be more people though.
Oh man, bro.
Definitely gonna be more people.
Yeah. LA Fitness jumping right now, bro. Like I know it's jumping, but one thing that my wife and I that we do every year prior to going into the new year, so we'll spend some time like that last week of December. We will sit down and work on our goals for the new year, right? And just look at our goals in the past year, like the things that we want to get accomplished, and I was telling her, I was like, yo, man, me writing this stuff down is not really working for me. So it's like I'll write it down and kind of just sit it somewhere. And so I told her, I was like, man, I gotta find an app or something so I can look at it every day, because if it's wrote down, I'm a visual person, but I guess I'm more visual with what I look at on on a daily basis, which is my phone. And so, just some things that I personally wanted to attack. I did put those goals there, but to me, it's been working better with me having on my phone as opposed to me just writing something down on a sheet of paper or whatnot. So I'll plug the app. I don't care. They're not paying or anything like that, but hey, it might help somebody. It's called Streaks, STREAKS. But you do have to pay for it, which I was like, you know what? I wasn't going to pay for it, but I was like, man, go ahead and spend a little $5 and see if it helps. So I went ahead and did that. So far, so good. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I ain't writing nothing down. I ain't getting no app. Every day and do what I got to do to make it happen.
Yeah, hey, right. I feel you, bro. I feel you. Hey, do whatever works for you. That's the moral of the story. Yep. Do whatever works for you, because at the end of the day, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, a couple of weeks ago, I put something on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? Let me just ask a question and see what type of response we get. So I wrote a couple of questions, right? And they both actually gave some pretty good responses, but I'll start with the first one. So the first question that I asked was, Black men, what are your flaws? And bro, we got a lot of feedback on that, a lot of feedback. And so I want to go through some of those. And then after we go through them, I'll, ask the question to y'all and we can, have a discussion on that. But excuse me, I do want to make sure that I read some of these answers. And I don't know if these people want to be acknowledged on the podcast, because I didn't do it from a podcast Facebook. I did it from my personal Facebook. So I won't say their names, but I'll read some of the answers. The first one was communication. Someone else wrote, not catering to the anxiety and stress caused by having to work twice as hard to level the playing field. Man, I understand that one. He said, I don't think brothers pay enough attention to that, and we go hard unchecking the stress and anxiety accumulated as we battle through societal pitfalls. Hustle, be great, take care of yours, go to therapy. I thought that was like, I felt that. I replied, I was like, damn, I felt that one wholeheartedly. Like that was, I felt like he was preaching to me for a little bit right there.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. Another one said, I always think I'm right, and I have a hard time seeing things from other people's point of view. I thought that was pretty good. I'll read a couple more. I'm passive. I only focus on the negative. I'm indecisive, occasionally self-destructive. Yeah, that was a powerful one as well. And another one here, feeling like I'm always counted out or deemed negatively. So I got to prove myself, damn near impossible to move without the chip. Yeah, man. So shout out to the Black men that were, because we had over 20, look here, 22 comments, right? And so I won't have to go through all of them, but shout out to all of those Black men that were open enough to open up and share how they feel that they're flawed. So I want to bring that same conversation here to the podcast, bro. Like, I know we all brothers and we talk offline all the time, whether we're in a group chat or we on the phone with one another. So but I felt like this would be a good opportunity to kind of bring that up here now. So what do y'all feel are your flaws, right? And we can discuss as much or as little as you want, but I just felt like let's ask the question. So we can start with you, Corey. What are your flaws, do you feel?
I would say for me, I think I don't give myself enough credit. A lot of times, I think due to me being humble, in a lot of situations, not so to say like toot my own horn, but as far as like, I don't give myself enough credit. Like a lot of times when I, just sit and think about, me being a Black man, my age and my accomplishment so far, it's like when I really think about it, I'm like, man, I've accomplished a lot, but sometimes like maybe I'm harder on myself than I should be. And I think that's definitely a flaw. I mean, especially when it comes to like, when it career wise, working wise, promotions, like I need to stop selling myself short And I mean, if I don't be my fan, if I'm not a fan of myself, then who else is going to be a fan? Not saying fan as far as like being a celebrity or something, but as far as really just kind of toot my own horn, so to speak.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. That's good. Follow-up question to that, right? Thinking about not putting you, not uplifting yourself, or not what do you have you been able to pinpoint the reason of why you feel like that?
I can't say why I feel like that, but sometimes like when I really put thought into it, and then when I if I hear something from somebody else, and now I look at it, I'm like, man, I never looked at myself like that, or I never thought about that. That's when I kind of start, thinking and feeling a certain type of way, because I'm like, man, I didn't realize that this person see me like this or whatever. So it really opened my eyes to certain things.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. Tori, what about yourself, bro?
I think Corey hit on a good one, because I think I do similarly have that same thing. I'm not braggadocious as others are. I know you guys, I celebrate my successes and things of that nature with you guys, and you guys know, but really kind of to Corey, really being my own salesman, right? For myself.
Right.
I kind of don't do that as well. My wife does it for me, but me personally, I don't. And I think I definitely agree with Corey for that aspect. But another one I would say, just one, because I think I could fill up the whole hour myself on my flaws. And I think you guys would probably agree that is that I am very great at compartmentalizing things, and so I come off sometimes as emotionless, and some things, because I can easily compartmentalize things and move on, right? So I think and I think that leads into and ties hand in hand with the larger thing I think that a lot of Black males struggle with is being vulnerable. So I think that's really what those two things kind of go hand in hand with, is really that being vulnerable and showing that sensitive side, as Ralph Transvet would say, a man with sensitivity, so not showing that actual sensitive side. So I think that those are probably two things that I really do struggle with, because y'all used to know my saying, I'm gonna throw somebody out the window back in the day. So I think that that's probably one of my biggest struggles that I flaws I have right now.
Gotcha. For myself, I'll say it's two things that really come to mind for me, and one of them I've worked on I've worked on both of them, but I'll say number one is just not being as expressive as I need to be. A lot of times I am someone that I've learned over time that I am someone who people love to talk to, right? And so a lot of times with that, people will talk to me about any and everything, and they will pour a lot on me, right? And I've had to learn to either in the moment say like, all right, that's enough, or just kind of let them know that like, all right, bro, my cup is overrunning at the point. You know what I mean? Because I'm someone that I'm a very helpful person now, and I actually like helping people, but I've had to learn how to just say not right now, right? Because people will take advantage of that even if it's not intentional. And I've had to learn to just say like, no, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I don't have the time to do this, or I don't have the time to do that. And even if it's something that I may have the bandwidth to do later on, I'm just learning to say like, not right now, I can't do it, and deal with that however it is, right? Because it could be, I think when I was younger, I would try to be in a position to always be like needed, so to speak. And I didn't like not being needed, if that makes sense. So I think that's the reason why I probably said yes to a lot of things, even though I didn't necessarily have the time to do it. I would make the time when there's nothing wrong with making the time to be helpful, but sometimes it's just like, yo, all right, bro, you being helpful now. And, sometimes you just got to be selfish and be like, no, I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was like that's my biggest flaw that I've been working on a lot. The other thing is kind of tied into that. It is just from a career perspective, just really similar to what Corey said earlier, is just, truly understanding your value. I think a lot of times I undermine my value because so many things come to me so easy that I don't realize that, how valuable I might be in certain arenas. Right. So for me, I'm someone that truly can do a lot of stuff. Right. I know I can do a lot of stuff, and a lot of things come to me easy, but because they come to me so easy, sometimes I don't put the proper value on those, because I almost treat it like, oh, if I can do this, like anybody can do it type thing. And that's not the case. Like some of the things that I do, other people don't know how to do or even know where to start at. But I kind of have that in my mind that like, no, you can do it, because, and it's just more so because it's coming to me so easy that I'm thinking that it's just like something that everybody else could really do. And so over time, I've just learned that that's not the case. And so you really have to learn how to put a value on your talents and your skills and things of that nature. So those would be like, I think, my main two.
And not only that, though, JD, to piggyback off that, not only put a value on it, be comfortable and confident in that value that you put on it.
Right.
Because our counterparts, that's the one thing I think, and one of the comments that you read, it really resonated with me when they said, having to prove yourself twice over, right?
Right.
And so I think that last part, what you mentioned about putting value on yourself and being confident and don't back down on that value because you want that value. I think that's the follow-up part that I think a lot of times we might put a value or we might say X, Y, Z, but having that, we lack a lot of times sometimes that confidence that goes along with it as well.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And I think that's part of my problem too, of the lacking the confidence. Knowing I know what I know and what I bring to the table, but being confident about it.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know Corey. I believe it was me, you, and Marlon was talking about it earlier. I had a situation where I had someone, whether it was intentional or unintentional, they undermine something that I do, and they tried to brush it to the side like I didn't know what I was doing. Like they tried, without getting too specific, they said that I didn't know how to do something that I do know how to do, and they spoke for me in a meeting setting, to where it was like, yeah, we need help in this area because Justin don't know how to do this. And so I had to I paused for a second. I was like, should I speak up for myself right here? And then I was like, yeah, I am. It's like, no, that's incorrect. Like I actually know how to do that. I'm trained on doing that. And the reason why we've been operating at this way is because that was the direction. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where like, no, we're operating at what the level we're doing things the way we're doing because they were directed to us to do it this way. And we're trying to match, the direction.
Right.
And so it was one of those things where it was just like, it was empowering, number one, because normally I would just be like, all right, whatever. And a lot of times, I know for me, a lot of times why I'm like a whatever is because I put value in a lot of the stuff I do outside of a job, of my job, because my job for me is insurance and you know what I'm saying? Like it's
benefits.
It's benefits. Like, and that's that's very transparent for me, right? Like, yes, it does pay as a salary, and yes, we utilize that salary to pay for things at home. So I'm not acting like the money doesn't mean, but even though the money is there, I don't necessarily look at the money. I look at the benefits more than the money, because the things that I work on outside of work is what I eventually want to be able to pay for everything, so to speak. And so a lot of times I've noticed that I'll put up with some things that other people probably wouldn't, because I only look at it in that way, right? I'm just like, oh, I ain't tripping because, long as X, Y, and Z is situated. But I've had to learn this, like, no, you might be missing out on some bread just because of you're just, worried about the benefits. You're only cool with the benefits. So yeah, I had to speak up today, bro. It was one of those things where I was just like, nah, I can't let this fly, especially not in the setting that we're in, because you're talking to people that are above you and a person above you. So it's like we're talking 2 or 3 levels ahead, and it's just like that don't look good. You're basically saying that I'm not needed in this space when I know I am. You know what I mean? So yeah. that speaking up is powerful. And so I'm glad both of y'all said that, because that's something that I'm sure our listeners are maybe struggling with, just to be honest. You know what I mean? They may be struggling with that.
And I'm sure that probably built your confidence too. So if there's something like that come around next time, it's like, hey, this is, this a walk in the park here.
It takes that first time, until you actually step out, that leap of faith to do it, it's always going to be, hard. I'm going to date myself, not date myself, but you're going to tell I can have kids. But if you ever seen Scene 1, one of the characters in there, he said, how do you stop being afraid of singing in front of people? Just sing. And that's really the same concept here. How do you stop being afraid of speaking up for yourself? Just speak up. And then once you do it, then it's like, oh, you're right. So
yeah, no, that's real, man. That's real. So the other thing, right? So we talked about flaws, and I want to move on to another question that was put up, because I think they're both powerful. The other thing, I lost it. Give me a second to get back to it. The other thing was, Black men, what are you struggling with right now? And so we got quite a few as well, and I'll go through a few of those, and then we can get into things that we might be struggling with currently. Feeling like I'm not just a tool for others whenever needed, like I'm an actual human with the same rights and abilities as everyone else. Someone else said focusing, not being impatient, not obsessing over the future. I think that's a big one, obsessing over the future. This one here is one that I don't even know if we want to get into it, but I'm gonna read it because I feel like, hey, let's go. So a guy said, I'm not understanding why the women in my life are so dominant. I thought I was the man. My level of respect is in question personally. All of the women in my life are emotionally detached from a man's wants, needs, and emotional concerns. I gotta be hard all the time when sometimes I just need a hug. So I'm gonna stop right there, and I feel like that's like, do we want to discuss? Do we want to get into that, or try to look at it from his point of view?
So I think it's fine with doing that. I think we definitely need to have another show that just focus on it. But the short of it, and what I think is the underpinning of it, and I think we've talked about this on previous shows before, is the difference in how women and men perceive things, right? So it goes back. Some things are innate to men, some things are innate to women, and vice versa. And so I think part of that is because I think I struggle with that sometimes as well in my marriage, how I think that my wife sees things a certain way. And because Black men and Black women both have struggles and things that they have to face on a day-to-day basis from society, I think that sometimes we try to pit those things against one another to try to say, oh, well, mine is a lot more than yours. And so I think it's part of that, because I think as Black men, we do have stresses and struggles that we deal with that are a common theme, no matter what level you are in. And so I think some of that is that underpinning is just that how men versus women see things, and then add in that other layer of how Black men versus Black women see and experience things.
Yeah.
So I think he has very great. First I want to reassure his feelings, because feelings are individualistic. So you can't tell nobody their feelings are wrong, right? So his feelings are spot on because it's his. Right. I think it goes to that larger conversation of men versus women, and then on top of that, Black men versus Black women, because we both have stresses and struggles that we deal with in our personal, public, and professional lives that other races don't experience in those same ways.
I would say, one thing is I would be curious to know if he has let those women know, maybe he need a hug, and not come off as the dominant, the head of household, this, that, the other. Because sometimes, men, you just got to be a little bit more open to, it's not taken away from your manhood, but just to know that we get emotional. We have a soft spot. We have soft spots. We can be sensitive about things. We're still a man, but, we still need that, that nurturing, that love and care from a woman. Yeah. So, being open about that, I think that would be helpful. Now, if you be open about it and they still don't do it, I don't really have an answer for them.
And then, JD, I think the other perspective what we need to add in here is that the generation of the person that asked the question and the generation of the women that he's dealing with.
Right. Okay, so go deeper on that. Why is that?
Because as younger women, younger men think totally different than our parents,
or even us sometimes.
Our
age.
Right. So that's why I say that it's a little bit deeper to that, because we got also know the generation that they was raised in. True. Because that generational thinking also plays into, this is what a man's supposed to do. This is what a woman's supposed to do. This is what a Black man's supposed to do. So I think that's the other part that we need to layer in on top of this, that, just by reading that question, it don't really provide that context as well for it.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's a good point. When I read it, I saw it, and it made me think of a couple of different things, right? Because, and this is just me being super transparent. I look at family dynamics, and the way that I was raised was completely different than how some of my cousins, were raised, right? And when I say that, I mean, mom and dad in the household type thing. That's not everyone's story in my family. And I look at that, and not everybody, but when I look at the ones that had like dad in the household, and I say that my women cousins specifically, they're a little bit harder than the ones that had a dad in the household, right? And I don't have to get into reasons of why they may be a little more rough around the edges. That could simply just be because they had to, right? Just it could be survival tactics or whatever the case may be. But that's just an observation that I made. I've noticed that they, at times, and some have got better, but at times they are a little hesitant to be on the, I don't want to say softer side, because that's not where I'm going, but a little bit hesitant to be on, they need that control, so to speak, right? And so I wonder if having a man in the household at a younger age, does that play a role in that? I don't want to say yes or no, but it's just observations that I've noticed, that the people that I've been around that grew up similar to how I grew up with husband and wife, mom and dad in the household, the reactions to different things are completely different. And so when I read it, I was just wondering, I was like, man, I wonder how was that dynamic for the women in his life? Is that something that is there or present, or is it something where he might be reading them wrong, right? I'm taking it for what he's saying, but I wonder if all of the women are that way. There's the common denominator too, right? And so you have to look at if all the women in your life are being, what he said, dominant. I wonder, what are you doing to get that type of energy back? You know what I mean? And so I don't know. That's just some of the thoughts that I had on that. Just to see.
No, you
without any background information. We're just guessing or trying to take our best shot at it. But hopefully something that we're saying will hit the nail on the head. But we're kind of guessing right now.
True.
See. Because there's so many different layers that we can go into. We can go to socioeconomic status. We can go into generational status. We can go into how they was raised. There's so many different ways that we could tackle that to Corey's point, without us knowing more context about that individual person's background and the background of the people that he's been interacting with, the women he's been interacting with. It's going to be extremely hard to just say, hey, XYZ, right? So
No, that's a fair point. So look, first off, for everyone that submitted that information, we thank you for it, because that is great to be able to share. We want people to continue to share. If you have something that you want to share with us, make sure you connect with us via social media. We're on IG, Facebook, Twitter. DM us, whatever. But if you really want to get in contact with us, you need to join our Patreon, right? We normally put this at the top. We didn't, whatever. Our Patreon family is where we take a load off, so to speak, right? Like we are still us, but on Patreon, we're a little more laid back. We talk about some different topics that we don't talk about on the normal pod. So if you want that bonus content, make sure you subscribe to our Patreon account. We have different tiers. Pick the tier that works for you. It's up to you. But if you want that bonus content, Patreon is where you'll find that bonus content. Outside of that, fellas, what else do we have for this week? Is there any final thoughts?
Man, I just want to say, man, I've been praying for the brother from the Buffalo game. It's just, God is good to see the improvements that he made. I'm sure most people heard about it, read about it, or was watching the game. But man, that's a blessing to see the improvements he made, because that was a pretty disturbing scene. Many games I watch and attend, it's just like that was a disturbing scene to see what was going on. But grateful for his improvements.
And I just saw too that they're going to cancel the game.
I saw that.
That's well, that might be something we can talk about on Patreon for real. Like that, just doing a deep dive on the NFL and we'll say that for Patreon.
Not just NFL. I think sports in general and the black male. There is a deep conversation that we could definitely have.
Right.
Many times. And I think, just to add to Corey, I think the thing that I'm probably going to always harp on, because I think it's so important from a black male perspective, is health. And when we talk about health, I'm talking about mental, physical, and spiritual health, right? There's still so many black men that we know that don't go to the doctor regularly for checkups. We have to do better. There's still this taboo around mental health, to where people are not getting going to see a therapist, or getting the mental assistance that they need. It's still a shame that we're in 2023 and that's still a taboo. And then the physical, we know about the physical, from the high blood pressure to diabetes and things of that nature. We got to be active in our lifestyles and get out there to make a difference. So, I think that's the only thing that, if I had to say what I would love for our community to really focus on, is that holistic perspective of health for the human body, so that's spiritual, physical, and mental. You have to feed all of those things to truly be healthy.
Yeah. No, that's spot on, Tori. That's spot on, man. So look, man, if you're enjoying the content, make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and leave a comment. Let us know what you like about the podcast, what you don't like about the podcast. That's cool with us too. But make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. We're trying to grow, and we've been growing, but we can grow some more. So outside of that, do you remember it, Corey?
No.
Thinkers think, doers do. Don't be anybody else, just be you. I think that's it. That sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
That sounds good to me.
We're going to get this going at some point, man. But this is the Black Man Think podcast. We'll see y'all next week.
The Black Men Think podcast.